Since we are dealing CPM, critical path method, so what critical path really means? After we calculating all the parameters for all the activities, we need to identify the critical path. So the critical path is a series of interconnected activities within the network with zero free float and zero total float. And those activities has the least amount of flexibility. And if you look at the sequence of those activities, you add the duration along those activities, that's the longest path. That's the longest path within this schedule. Now, for the network diagram, we can, based on the connection of those different activities, we have multiple paths linking towards the end of the project. And the critical path has the longest path in time. If you add all of those activities together over the path, that's the longest one. If you add duration over the critical path, that will be the same as your project duration. If an activity on the critical path is delayed, the project is delayed. So why we call it as critical, right? So that's why it is critical, and we call that path as the critical path. Based on the characteristics we described for critical path, now we can identify the critical path in this network schedule. This is activity on node diagram. And we're looking for the activities with the least amount of flexibility. Activity A, activity C, activity E, activity G, and activity H. All right. So typically, I would like to highlight those on those activities. For the activity on node diagram, it is okay to label on the arrow as well. But for my preference, I typically just label them on the activities, those are critical activities, and this path is my critical path, A, C, E, G, H. One question for you guys: can we have multiple critical paths on a project? Think about it. The answer is yes. We can have multiple critical paths on a project, as long as you have those activities with zero total float and free float. They interconnect with each other, and there might be another path also is critical. So it is possible to have multiple critical paths on a schedule, in a schedule. That's the full solution of the network diagram for all the activities. We have duration, precedence, early start, early finish, late start, late finish, total float, and free float, everything calculated. And you can put this into a table. That will be a little easy for me to grade your work. And now let's try to recap building a critical path method schedule. First, we have to do the project planning, identify all the activities. Then we can work on the schedule. We have to identify the logical relationships between activities. And then we can assign durations based on your production rate, the quantity of the work. You estimate your activity duration. Once we have those elements, we can start building our network diagram. Next step, calculate your early schedule. Do a forward pass calculation. Second, get your backward pass calculation to get the late schedule. Once we finish calculating early, late schedules, we can calculate the total float and free float for each activity. The last step is to identify the critical path. That's the longest path in time, based on time in your schedule. And we've already completed the CPM schedule, activity on node diagram. And those are different terms you guys really need to know. Activity, tasks, activity duration, the network, either activity on arrow or activity on node. We just talk about activity on node so far, but in the future lectures, we are going to talk about activity on arrow diagram as well. The early start date, early finish date, late start and late finish date, project duration, critical path, float, or slack, you can call it, critical activities, critical path. So those are the nomenclatures you need to know. And we've already finished talking about activity on node CPM schedule. I believe you guys should be able to draw the diagram for this making iced tea exercise, and you can even calculate your early start, early finish, late start, late finish. You can also calculate the total float, free floats for all activities.